Not all horror stories come from haunted houses. Sometimes the real terror waits on quiet streets, late-night roads, or even your own front porch. These are real stories, told by real people, about the moments they'll never forget. So turn down the lights, and try not to look over your shoulder. Let's begin. It was a few summers ago, maybe around late July. The kind of night where the air feels heavy, but it's not too hot, just warm enough that you don't really feel like going inside yet. I was out biking with a friend of mine. We had a habit of going for late rides around the downtown area, nothing serious, just a casual cruise under the city lights. That night, we rode around until close to midnight. It was peaceful. Eventually, we split off near a quiet intersection. My friend lived about 6 blocks in the opposite direction, and I only had 2 to go. I was riding alone now. The streets were dead silent. Not a single car in sight. It was the kind of silence that almost presses in around you. No horns, no people, just the soft hum of power lines and the occasional creak of my bike chain. Because of some road work, the bike lane was closed, so I moved up onto the sidewalk. That's when I saw him. A man, walking ahead of me, maybe 30 or 40 feet up. He looked like he was in his 40s. Scruffy, maybe tired looking, but he didn't seem homeless. His clothes were pretty normal. Jeans, light jacket, maybe a baseball cap. I didn't think much of it at first. People walk at night. Not weird. The sidewalk was narrow though, and I didn't want to startle him as I approached from behind, so I gave him a quick heads up. I said, "Hey, behind you. Just a heads up." He turned around immediately, and the look he gave me, I can't explain it. His face twisted into this expression that was just pure anger, like I'd personally insulted him. His eyes locked on mine, and it was like they didn't blink. I didn't say anything else, just turned down my street and kept pedaling. I told myself he was probably just startled, maybe even mentally unwell. You never know, right? But the way he looked at me, like he was trying to remember my face, stuck with me. As I neared my house, I glanced behind me. And there he was, not walking, not shuffling, but full-on striding after me. And then he started screaming, "You fucking bitch. I'm gonna kill you. You think you're tough." Asterisk. His voice echoed through the empty street. It didn't feel like someone having a mental break. It felt targeted. I lived just off the corner, but I made a snap decision not to turn toward my place. No way was I letting him see which door I unlocked. So I kept going. Circled the block. Figured I'd wait until he gave up or walked off in another direction. Took about 5 minutes. Enough time to slow my breathing, get my heart rate down. But when I came back around the corner and looked toward my house, my blood ran cold. He was standing on my front stoop, perfectly still, facing the street, his hands at his sides. And he was just staring, not pacing, not knocking, just waiting, like he somehow knew. Like in the short time I had ridden around the block, he had figured it out. That's what chilled me the most. He shouldn't have known. I didn't stop, didn't look, didn't hesitate. But there he was, watching. As I rode past again, trying not to even glance his way, he didn't yell. He didn't move. He just stood there, like a statue. I didn't go home that night. I rode back to my friend's place and explained everything. We debated calling the police, but by the time we looked back down the street, he was gone. 2 days later, my bike got stolen from behind their building. Could have been a coincidence. Could have been him. But the timing was too perfect. I never saw his face again. But I remember the look in his eyes, and the way he just stood there, like he was waiting for something. When I was a kid, maybe 7 or 8, my parents were the kind of awesome that every little kid dreams of. They let me sleep in the living room on weekends, partly because my sister was a light sleeper, and partly because I loved staying up late watching Nick at night. I'd make a little nest of blankets on the couch, eat snacks, and fall asleep to those old black and white sitcoms. It was my favorite part of the week. Until one night, it stopped being fun. I don't know what woke me up. It wasn't a sound, not one I remember. It was more like a feeling. A prickly, crawling sensation that ran up my spine like something was watching me. I sat bolt upright, heart hammering in my chest. I stared straight out the front window. We lived deep in rural Georgia, where our property backed right up to a stretch of thick woods. No neighbors, no streetlights, just trees. And in that moonlight, perfect, clear, I saw a silhouette in one of them. Not a bird, not an animal, a person, sitting, still, in the branches, staring at me. That's when our family dog, normally lazy and snoring, ran to the window and started snarling. Not barking, not jumping, just growling into the glass with his fur standing up. And the figure didn't move. I lost it, ran to my parents' room, stumbling over my words. There's someone out there, someone in the trees. My dad didn't ask a lot of questions. He grabbed his bat, or maybe a pipe, I don't even know, and stormed outside with the dog at his side. My mom pulled me close, rocking me while we both listened for something, a shout, a scream, anything. Nothing. A few minutes later, my dad came back in, shook his head. Didn't see a soul, he said. Go on to bed. I didn't want to sleep alone again, but I also didn't want to stay in that room. So I went back to my actual bedroom and told my sister what happened. She didn't laugh at me. She believed me. My dad stayed up, walking around the house with a cup of coffee like he was guarding us. For a while, we all just laid there in silence. Eventually, my body started to relax. I remember thinking, okay, it's over. I can sleep now. Then I turned my head toward the window. He was back, standing right outside, close enough to see the shine of his eyes. He raised one hand slowly and made a shush gesture, a single finger to his lips. Then he turned and ran, not ducking into the woods, not trying to hide, just sprinted straight ahead into the trees like he knew exactly where he was going. I screamed. My sister jumped up. My parents ran in. But by the time they looked, the figure was gone. I couldn't stop crying. Not for minutes. Not for hours. Just shaking. Cold. Trembling. We never caught him. Never figured out who he was. But for months after that, I wouldn't go near windows. Wouldn't sleep in the living room. And every time the wind rustled the trees, I thought I saw something sitting up there, watching me. This isn't a ghost story. There's nothing supernatural here, but it's still one of the most disturbing, surreal things I've ever lived through. And even now, years later, it still plays back in my head like a scene from a film I never wanted to star in. It was early morning, 5 a.m. to be exact. The streets were misty, damp, and nearly silent. I was walking to catch my bus like I had dozens of times before. A banana in one hand, work bag in the other, halfway zoning out and halfway debating something trivial, like whether I should grab my usual Starbucks before the commute or after. Just another sleepy start to the day. My mind was miles away when I reached a dimly lit corner near my building. Out of nowhere, a tall man stepped out from a shadowy alley to my left, dressed in black, face covered with a mask. He moved fast and pointed a gun directly at my head. I froze, still holding the banana. Put down your fucking purse, he growled. It took a second for everything to register, like the air had turned thick. My brain was foggy, but adrenaline hit me like a freight train. He barked again. Put down your bags. I replied fast, not even thinking, just reacting. Okay. I'm putting them down, over here. I backed up slightly and set my things down on the sidewalk. That should have been it. A robbery. A loss of money. But safe. Then he pointed again. Not at the bags, but at me. Get over here. On the ground. Now. And that's when I knew this wasn't just about money. My hands were shaking. I couldn't stop talking. I kept rambling, trying to calm him. Okay. See, I'm getting down. I'm doing what you said. Just take my stuff, please. But he didn't like that. Shut the F up. He climbed on top of me, gun pressed against my head. My face was in the cold, wet sidewalk. My whole body went still, like something inside me shut off. This is the part I've replayed in my mind so many times. I was dressed in baggy clothes that morning, oversized pants, a hoodie, baseball cap. I was heading to coach a high school practice. If not for my voice, I probably looked like a teenage boy. And suddenly, something in his face changed. He paused, stared at me, and I could feel it. That exact moment he realized I wasn't who he thought I was. He stood up, took a step back, and said the worst possible thing he could have said. "Come with me." He motioned toward the alley, that same dark alley he came out of. And in my head, two voices went to war. One said, "You can't outrun a gun. Just do what he says." The other screamed, "You are not going down that alley." My stomach was in knots. My legs felt like concrete. But somehow, I spoke. Okay. I'm coming with you." He nodded, believed me, and this is where he made his mistake. He turned to lead me toward the alley. For one split second, his eyes left me. His gun wasn't aimed. I ran. I ducked my head in case he fired, and I sprinted harder than I ever had in my life. My own scream rang in my ears. I didn't even recognize my own voice, this high-pitched, animalistic sound tearing out of me as I ran block after block. I didn't stop until I was 6 or 7 blocks away, doubled over in an alley near my apartment. I was shaking, sobbing, afraid to go home, afraid he'd be there waiting somehow. Eventually, I made it back inside and called the police. They checked the alley. Nothing. The guy was long gone. The only thing left behind? A banana peel, slowly browning on the sidewalk. I never got my stuff back. Never saw his face again. But I still think about that moment, that single second where I chose to run. It could have gone another way. And I know how lucky I am that it didn't. I'm not haunted by what happened. I'm haunted by what could have.